Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christus, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shai. So got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. Who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel? Whether you can accept it or not. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hope of the elect. And shalom to the Agwathium. And shalom, Salaki, shalom, to the Agwathium who are listening and learning. The few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification. Another daily edification. Another Saturday edification. Lord's willing. This be edifying. And this is video is titled Restaurant Apocalypse Getting Worse. 40% of U.S. restaurants could close by the end of the year. Hey, so this is the grinding shall cease. Lord willing, this be edifying. Your cities are being laid waste. This is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain. I do not own a copyright to this video. This is for educational purposes only. I'm titling this lesson, Your Cities Are Being Laid Waste. Lord willing, this be edifying.
A new wave of government-mandated lockdown restrictions is decimating the restaurant sector, which has been by far the most affected by the current economic meltdown. The new constraints are either limiting their functioning or pushing those that have been struggling to stay afloat straight into bankruptcy. The restaurant apocalypse will change the landscape of the American hospitality industry for good, since it's been registering record-high permanent closures, and it's prompted a substantial share of the layoffs witnessed up until now, with far more to come as the winter approaches. That's why in today's video, we're going to look through the latest data of the U.S. restaurant apocalypse and discuss how the recent mandatory restraints have taken down some of the most celebrated businesses in the restaurant industry and profoundly damaging the labor market. So stay with us, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with friends, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with the next unfoldings of the U.S. economic collapse. One of the most visible signs of the 2020 recession has been the dramatic distress experienced by restaurants and bars. Now they're having to face yet another obstacle with the new wave of operational restrictions, which has been adding extra pressure to their attempts of staying in business and recovering their earnings amid the current crisis. When we drive around town, we can already see how the landscape of this industry has changed. The ones that aren't closed have been doing curbside service only or have drastically altered their layout to make their spaces safer. According to the National Restaurant Association, the restaurant sector, which is the second largest private sector employer in the United States, is amongst the most affected industries by the current economic downturn, with losses estimated at $240 billion until the end of the year. Sean Kennedy is the Executive Vice President of Public Affairs for the association, who says it is an apocalyptic moment for this industry. Sean Kennedy maintains that the sector was the first industry to close, and we will be the last to recover from this crisis, and sustaining that things won't be well for the restaurant segment until the airlines recover, hotels resume activity, and tourism returns. In July, Yelp registered 26,160 restaurant closures across the country in the United States, of which 60%, which accounts for 15,770 venues, were permanently closed, setting an increase of 2,179 from June 15th. Although Yelp's data is relatively concrete, these figures are well under the current mark, which will likely be divulged by the end of the month. However, financial services company Rabobank projected additional 60,000 permanent closures in the independent restaurant sector alone, or up to 20% of the entire group. The forecast indicates that by 2021, over 10% of restaurants would be erased from the industry. Additionally, a survey by NRA found that 40% of operators aren't sure they'll make it in 6 more months. That means 1 in 6 restaurants, which represents nearly 100,000 units, will be closed either permanently or long term. Meanwhile, almost 3 million restaurant employees are still out of work. The sector recorded the highest rates of closures, even surpassing retail shutdowns. For an industry built on service and hospitality, the last 6 months have challenged the core understanding of our business, stated Tom Benny, President and CEO of the NRA. Our survival for this comes down to the creativity and entrepreneurship of owners, operators, and employees. Across the board, from independent owners to multi-unit franchise operators, restaurants are losing money every month, and they continue to struggle to serve.
And 2018 and 2019 was a retail apocalypse. So now you have the restaurant apocalypse. Hey, Babylon the Great is falling to his knees, man.
Serve their communities and to support their employees, he noted. A consumer study from the association reported that 89% of adults were concerned about businesses in their community, such as restaurants, wouldn't survive the current economic meltdown, with 56% of those same people affirming they were aware of a local restaurant that permanently closed. 88% of its respondents considered restaurants as an essential part of their communities, while 78% agreed going out to their favorite spots was one of the things they missed most. I suspect that each of you have learned of restaurant closures in your community that break your hearts, from revered local independents to popular regional chains to the favorite corner diner, Kennedy wrote in the statement. He continued, these closures occurred during spring and summer months when people long to enjoy a meal out. As fall and winter approach, restaurants that are still open will face even greater challenges as customer traffic declines. The association pointed out that 64% of urban residents revealed to have witnessed permanent closures in their hometowns. In suburban areas, 56% of the respondents noted local restaurant closings. Even in rural areas, the number of interviewees who've seen a change in the local restaurant landscape was high, marking 44%. The executive president of NRA calls out for Congress aid, outlining that investing in an industry that consumers love and that powers the economy would be a wise business and economic move for Congress as they search for the biggest bang for their recovery buck. The food service industry was the nation's second largest private sector employer, pumped more than $2 trillion into the economy right up until our sudden shutdown, Kennedy observed. The association documented that ever since the government-mandated shutdowns took place, the food service industry forfeited $165 billion in revenue. To the previously mentioned closures point, the association's 100,000 estimate is a 2020 total prediction when the dust settles. However, the true figures won't be known until government statistics are released at the end of the year. Meanwhile, another surge in viral cases has led some states to reinforce tighter restrictions on dining. Indoor dining is once again banned at Chicago restaurants. Only a week after the introduction of a curfew for bar services, additional restrictions were added. According to the new rules, All bar service should end at 11 p.m. All bar patrons should be seated at tables outside. Ordering, seating, or congregating at a bar is no longer allowed. Bar stools should be removed. All tables should be 6 feet apart, and people cannot stand together indoors or outdoors while waiting for a table or exiting. Customers are prohibited to even dance or stand indoors. As for restaurants, in addition to the rules just mentioned, the overall room capacity may not exceed 25%. The same applies to gaming centers and casinos. In Denver, the restaurant capacity has also been slashed from 50% to 25%. The last call for alcoholic drinks is now 10 p.m. In Europe, which is registering a second peak of cases, countrywide restriction mandates for restaurants are occurring one more time. France has reimposed lockdown, including non-essential business shutdowns like bars and restaurants, while Germany is enforcing a partial lockdown that started yesterday and will linger until the end of the year. In the U.S., while loans given to restaurant owners through the Paycheck Protection Program have run out, their laid-off employees have been left waiting for further federal assistance. And September's unemployment rate of 7.9% shows that many consumers don't have a dime to spare for dining out. A recent report signaled that chain restaurants are managing to bounce back more rapidly than independent establishments, but the uncertainty around the fallout of the crisis makes projecting their recovery even more difficult. For instance, Starbucks announced that 63% of its U.S. cafes will have limited seating. The coffee chain is anticipating a return to same-store sales growth by the end of its fiscal second quarter in March 2021. But its optimistic estimate relies upon the assumption that cafe seating and operating hours will be near full capacity by that time. But the lockdown trend is forecasted to spread, and it will last at least until early 2021, which means the revenue of many of these businesses will be severely compromised. Full-service restaurant companies such as Texas Roadhouse and Darden Restaurants have affirmed that their sales recovery has been directly tied to loosened dining restrictions. Moreover, many restaurants that have relied on patio dining are about to face extra hardships as the cold weather season is right at the corner. For example, Cheesecake Factory had its stocks downgraded by the bank due to its reliance on outdoor dining. A Bank of America survey of 1,000 respondents indicated that 60 degrees Fahrenheit is the cutoff temperature for most diners. But even in states known for their cozy temperatures, due to the lack of enhanced stimulus relief, many restaurants are still expected to go down. That's the case for California. The state, which is the 5th largest economy in the world, has been dramatically impacted, and the consequences of the industry's trouble can be seen in the statistics. Before the economic downturn had started, about 1.4 million people used to work in California's restaurants. Over the past 4 months, more than 1 million have been laid off or furloughed, reported Sharokina Shams, Vice President of Public Affairs for the California Restaurant Association. Shams disclosed, "We anticipate that 30% of California restaurants will close permanently as the result of the current economic meltdown. This is much, much worse than the last 2 crises that previously hit the sector in 2001 and during the 2008 recession." The main reason pointed as the trigger to this massive downfall in the industry is that restaurants often operate with very low profit margins and very little cash reserves. While the government-issued stimulus package has helped, several California restaurant owners said it wasn't enough to ensure their business survival. The average restaurant generates between 6% and 7% profit and has about 16 days in cash, said Kennedy. And suddenly, with the burst of the current crisis, they're expected to find a way to pay rent, services, inventory. For an increasing number of restaurants, the answer is to close permanently, he laments. That's what Madeline Alfano, owner of Maria's Italian Kitchen, a restaurant chain in Los Angeles, has been experiencing in her business. Alfano, who was forced to close 2 of her locations admits it has become harder and harder to keep the other branches open. She said, "It's like losing a family member. These are my savings. This is my passion, and there is a growing feeling of defeat," she told in an interview. She explains that with the impact of the economic collapse, her business plummeted 50% overnight, and like other restorers, she has to quickly adapt to the new reality. Not so lucky, Gabriel Gordon and his wife Lena didn't have the chance to save their business. Beechwood Barbecue, based in the coastal town of Seal Beach, California, has also been victimized by the current crisis, shutting doors permanently. "This restaurant has allowed us to take off and have a good life," said Gordon. "It is moving to see it close." Furthermore, in New York City, more than 1,000 have closed since March, and as business struggle continues, restaurants across the city are expected to close en masse. Some of the most celebrated names and neighborhood favorites that have had to shut down their activities for good include Uncle Boone's and Maison Premiere, along with teenage sensation China Chalet and the glitzy McDonald's flagship store off of Times Square. According to a September survey from the New York State Restaurant Association, as many as 2/3 of states' restaurants are likely to permanently close by the end of the year if they don't receive additional government assistance. But experts say this number could be even higher, since it's been difficult to assess the damage caused by the sector so far. Some of the most lamented restaurant losses by consumers on social media were of the well-reviewed Hooney Kim's Hanchen, West Village's Corner Bistro, Hell's Kitchen Lansdowne Road, and Mont Blanc 52, Upper West Side's classic Macaron Parlor, Williamsburg's 20-year-old Evil Olive, amongst many others. In short, as uncertainty about the issuance of another stimulus bill grows, this winter will likely register another spike in both unemployment rates and restaurant permanent shutdowns. It's important to keep in mind that the hospitality industry is not only one of the foundations of the American economy, it has a major impact on the global economic scenery. Many of these businesses that have marked generations are being ruthlessly wiped out, and the devastation caused by such a substantial spike in restaurant closures will be felt for years in our industry.
Now, so if you've been living under a rock, for the past 6 months to a year, and you have questions like this bug out guy, Ari Spears, the reason is the Lord is talking to 2/3 of you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native American, West Indians, and Haitians. And he's talking to the heathen nations, starting with Esau, Edom. What's the reason? The reason, first and foremost, you heathen nations, starting with Esau, Edom, put your hands on the apple of the Lord's eye. So he's destroying your cities. He's destroying your world, as the scriptures say. As for us, so-called Negro, Latinos, Native American, West Indian, and Haitians, the reason is you have been disobedient to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. Therefore, you're going to die grievous deaths, and you're going to fall through calamities, through famine, pestilence, through the sword, grievous deaths, through teeth of wild beasts, because the Lord has spirits created for vengeance. All these things is happening because it's the will of Yahweh Shema Shah. Because 2/3 of Israel have been disobedient. And he said, wherever Israel is scattered at, 2/3, he's going to bring calamities to you. You can't run from Yahweh Shema Shah. You can't hide. And the heathens, their judgment is their judgment. So let's read this first. This is Isaiah 14:21. It reads, "Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities." Right? So Esau, Edom, would not fill the face of the world with cities anymore. Let's get this. 2 Ezra 6:9. It reads, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, and we see Esau world is falling. This is the will of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. So let's start with this. This is Isaiah 42 and verse 9. It reads, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. These are new things. The world standing still for a whole month when the COVID-19 first hit. The world stood still. The entire planet. That's a new thing in the earth. Because even in World War I and World War II, even when the Spanish flu and the bubonic plague and all these Ebola were breaking out back in the day, the world didn't stop moving. But COVID-19 made the world stop. So again, Isaiah 42 and 9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. This is what the Lord is saying. This is Isaiah 46 and 9. Remember the former things of old. What former things? How he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, the flood. Hey, remembering Lot's wife. All those calamities that happened, man. How he brought the cavemen out the caves and rose them up over you, and they became the rulers of the world, and you became the basis of men. It say, remember the former things of old. All the former things, man. For I am power, and there is none else. I am power, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient time, the things that are not yet done, which is what? Prophecy. World War III. The RFID microchip being made mandatory. Jacob's trouble. Okay, it says again, and from ancient time, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Why? Because Esau Edom put his hands on the apple of the Lord's eye, and you Israelites, you 2/3, have been rebellious. Every third and fourth generation, when you come back on the earth, your every life span on the planet earth, you have been rebellious. This is Psalms 33 and verse 10. It reads, the Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of the Lord Yahweh standeth forever. The thoughts of his heart to all generations. So this is the work of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. This is Proverbs 19 and 20. It reads, hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in the latter end. See, this is what the hopeful elect is going to do. This is what they're going to be, wise. Things that accompany salvation, understanding the mind of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Verse 21 reads, there are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless the counsel of the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, that shall stand. So this is the work of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, man. And 2/3 and the heathens would not understand what's going on. This is Isaiah 55 and 11. It reads, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. And what did he? Hey, to gather his elect. When you read Isaiah 34, to gather his elect, and after the elect is gathered, the angels that hold him like the four winds is going to destroy this place, man. This place will be destroyed, man. And you see it collapsing, deteriorating every day. Babylon the Great is on her knees. This is Isaiah 47:1. It reads, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called, tender and delicate." This place is going to go out with a bang. This is Ezekiel 33:28. It reads, "For I will lay the land most desolate, and the pomp of her strength shall cease, and the mountains of Israel shall be desolate, that none shall pass through. Then shall they know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, when I have laid the land most desolate, because of all their abominations which they have committed." This is talking to 2/3 of Israel, you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native American, West Indian Haitians, and it's talking to the heathens, man. Starting with Esau, Edom. Let's read it. This is Ezekiel 35. Ezekiel 35 and verse 3. And I say unto it, let me read 2. "Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it." Talking to who? Esau, Edom. "And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua." So the things that are happening is the counsel of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. This is Ezekiel chapter 6 and verse 5. It reads, "And I will lay the dead," Salakia, Ezekiel 6 and 5, "in all your dwelling places, the cities shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste." California, New York, the high places, right? Again, Ezekiel 6 and 6. In all your dwelling places, the city shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. These things is happening because Esau, Edom, put his hand on the apple of the Lord's eye, and 2/3 of you jakes have been rebellious, and you would not turn back to the Holy One of Israel. The Lord is making these things happen. This is Isaiah 24 and verse 1. It reads, "Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled, for the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua have spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth doeth languish." And the haughty people is 2/3 of Negroes, so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, West Indian Haitians, and you heathen nations, start with Esau, Edom. "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof," which is who? Esau, Edom, and all the other heathen nations, "because they have transgressed the laws," and talking to you 2/3 of Israel, "changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenants." Okay, who changed these things? Esau, Edom. Verse 6, "Therefore have the curse," which is Esau, Edom, "devoured the whole earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth," which is what? Philosophies, their policies, their legislations, their democracies, their draconian laws. As it said in Isaiah 10:1, woe to him that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. The new wine mourneth, these new philosophies, these new religions. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of the tabret ceaseth, meaning the music, instruments. The noise of them that rejoice ended, the joy of the harp ceaseth. All your string instruments, your music. Hey, that's why I say the daughters of music have become low. Then it said, they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion, which is what? Babylon. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets, which is they looking for the truth, which they ain't gonna be able to find it. Hey, but the door is still open now. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction, man. The Lord is destroying this place. Right in the front of you, man. Right in the midst of you. Okay? They would not drink wine with a song, man. This is Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 5. It reads, the just Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doeth he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. I have cut off the nations, their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passeth by. Their cities are desolate. Did this not happen? Starting in March with the COVID-19, I made their streets waste, that none passeth by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabiting. I said, surely thou wilt fear me. Hey, 2/3 of Israel still didn't fear the Lord. Thou wilt receive instruction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. Still went after your covetousness, man. After all this done played, after all these things the Lord has been doing. Killing Jake after Jake, man. Celebrities, regular Jake, heathens. You Jake still refuse to return to the Holy One of Israel, man. He's still bringing judgment and death, and you refuse it. This is Leviticus 26 and 33. It reads, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. He's talking to 2/3 of Israel, man. 2/3 of you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indian Haitian. That's why I say this in Jeremiah 9. Let's read this. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 21. Let's read 20. Yet hear the word of the Lord Yahweh, O ye women, and let your ear receive the word of his mouth, and teach your daughters wailing, and every one her neighbor lamentation. For death is coming to our windows, and is entering into our palaces, to cut off the children from without, and the young men from the streets. Is our people hearkening to the sound of the Lord, to the sound of the trumpet? No, man. They are continually being rebellious, man. Therefore, they must die a grievous death. This is Ecclesiastes 12 and 3. It reads, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Who are the keepers of the house? Who are the strong men? It's talking about these elites, man. The ones who control everything. It said in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves. They military might, right? All these ones these military guys, these polices, these troops. Okay, it's saying the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. What is that grinders cease because they are few? Jobs, man. Okay, 2018, 2019 was a retail apocalypse. Okay? 2020 is the restaurant apocalypse. And those that look out of the windows be darkened. And this talk about these elites and 2/3 of Israel, man. Because you have no answers, man. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. No work, man. No jobs. And he shall rise up at the voice of a bird. Who? The ones that have no answers. They don't know what to do, man. Okay, starting with the elites, man. Looking out, hey, those that look out of the windows, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, man. Have no assurance of life and what's going to happen. And the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the ground is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of a bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. This is the Lord destroying this place, man. On every level, man. Why? Because of the wickedness of Esau, Edom, and 2/3 of you so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, West Indian Haitians. Last precept, Jeremiah 51:8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us everyone go into his own country, for her judgment reacheth into heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Lord, what is edifying? Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders over all of Israel, whether you can accept it or not. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwathim who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. Lord, what is edifying? Till next time I say shalom. Hey, the Lord is destroying this place, man. Why? Because you so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, West Indian Haitians is still rebellious. You 2/3. And for the heathens, the Lord is destroying their cities that they do not rise again, man. Because they have put their hands on the apple of the Lord's eye. And first and foremost, they blaspheme the name of Yahweh. Okay? They blaspheme the name of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Therefore, they must be destroyed. Shalom.